Hey yo, what's good though? Soul here, and welcome back to my story mode. Before we get started here, don't worry, I'll make sure to actually post a timestamp this time. I just need to say a quick little something. First of which, an apology for not being very active on the channel like I want to be. I'm sorry, there's only so much I can do during downtime Pokemon season, which this has been the longest of for the last year. We're probably not really getting any news on Pokemon Legends EA until we at least get a sliver of news on the Nintendo Switch 2 or the Nintendo Switch successor. And we're still waiting on that. It could be this month, it could be next month, it might not be for a couple of months. We don't truly know, but what we do know is we don't have a lot to talk about, which is why I'm talking about the topic that I'm talking about today. Wow, that was a mouthful. Regardless though, there's only so much I can do when I primarily talk about Pokemon games, and I feel like we've covered generally a lot of things when it comes to the games. There's still plenty that we can do, but I like to keep it spread out a little bit so I don't completely burn out or run out of content to make. However though, I still have things that I am working on. One is a very long form video that I feel like you guys are really going to enjoy, but it is taking a while to edit. It's going to be a big monster, so be prepared for that, but I will get that one out to you guys, I promise you. However, in the midst of waiting, I feel like I should probably tell you guys, I haven't been slacking entirely when it comes to content in general. On this channel, yes. On my second channel, not so much. I don't think I've ever actually officially said or announced that I had a second channel, but I've never really hidden that fact. And over there, we like to talk about anything that's not Pokemon related. We talk about all kinds of games, we even play some games, and I want to do more with that channel because that's a lot more fun to me right now. A few of you have already found it, however, I did start recently kind of advertising it in my Discord as well, so if you'd like to stay up to date on both of these channels, I'm not going anywhere on this channel either, don't worry, make sure to join the Discord so that you can not only keep up to date with everything that I'm doing, however, I'm definitely going to start holding a lot more opinion-based conversations about what you guys want to see on either channel, so make sure to get in there because it's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, and also, obviously, the name of the channel is called Soul Side Quests, so if you want to just look that up, if you want to just, you know, hang out over there, feel free. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about a lot of different games and playing a lot of different games, possibly even doing some streams and things like that when I can find the time, because I really want to have more fun with that channel, so I would really appreciate it. Now, with all that out of the way, with all that being said, it's finally time to get to the topic at hand, something that we haven't talked about in apparently almost 2 full years now. Wow, how time moves. But it was on the back of my mind for a couple of weeks, and then in the Discord somebody brought up, hey, maybe Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl wasn't that bad. And of course, because I was already kind of thinking about it, I thought that the timing was ironic, but I had a couple of things to say about that, which I'm kind of gonna regurgitate here. So, kick back, relax, enjoy a nice hot cup of coffee, dip the fattest pizza that you can in there, and let's talk one more time about the very, very controversial games that are Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. So, I have about 4 questions that I'm going to answer as we go. Ready? Let's go. Question 1. Was Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl bad? It may be kind of strange to hear this, or maybe not all that strange at all, but no, I don't inherently think that the remakes in of themselves are bad. I think that as games in of themselves, they did an okay job with the time allotted remaking Diamond and Pearl. So already by nature, they're okay games because they were made based on Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, which were good games. Not only that, but I personally think they did a very good job recapturing the music and the essence of all of these different areas, all of these different towns, and all of these different cities. You guys know me, it's like I always say, if there's one thing that Pokemon very rarely fails at, it's the music. Even if it's not the greatest thing of all time, the music is usually still pretty damn good. And in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl's case, it was pretty damn good. However, again, by nature, the music is good because it was Pokemon Diamond and Pearl's music. However though, I will note that it is pretty damn easy, easier than you think, to mess up music that's already good by remaking it. So I think that they did a good job not messing it up. I'm also not gonna sit here and lie about the quality of life features being bad, because they're not. The HM system was always kind of redundant, which is why they got rid of it after 6th gen to begin with. Being able to just summon Pokemon that have the ability to cut things down or to fly you to places here and there is probably one of the best things that they had done at that point. And I'm not gonna sit here and lie to myself and tell myself that the Underground is a bad addition. That is probably the best thing about the remix. Not only is mining still so much fun, just being able to go under, get as many fossils and all of these different stones and things like that as you can, but also finally having a way to have better access to all of the Pokemon that are available in the game in one place. Yeah, that is way more efficient. It gives you way more access to something like fire types, which was extremely and absurdly absent in the original games. And then of course, you know, smaller things too, like Pokemon being able to follow you around. That's just a nice, cute little addition that they didn't need to do, by the way, but they did. And I really appreciate that. Being able to have God running right behind me, scaring the life out of every single trainer on the field is a very exciting thing for me. So I could go on and on about the quality of life improvements that they did make, but I've done that already, and you guys get the gist of it. The game inherently is fine. It functions. It functions. And it gave us a functional, legal way to play 4th gen without having to resort to digging in our wallets and spending over $200 to get it from some rando off the internet. For better or for worse, this is still by and far the best legal way to experience 4th gen. If you haven't before, this is definitely worth it. And so that brings us to question 2. Why were we so harsh then? Well, not to exactly speak for everybody, but I think a majority of us probably get the gist. These games were, by and far, the worst remakes in the entirety of the series. Now, of course, I mentioned a good couple quality of life improvements that they made to the original game for the remakes. However, every previous game beforehand, yeah, they did it a lot better. No one's gonna tell you to play the original Pokemon Red over Fire Red or Leaf Green. Hell, I feel like a very commonplace opinion is that Heart Gold and Soul Silver are some of the best games in the entire franchise. I don't agree with that sentiment, but I completely understand why, which is why I'm fully more than aware that nobody would tell you to go back and play the original Silver or Gold. And then Gen 3 is an entire discussion in of itself. I never really got the chance to go back and really buckle down with Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire or really talk much about it at all on this channel. But one thing I will say for certain is that those are probably some of the best remakes that we got. You can argue with me all you want, but that's just how I see it. I mean, come on. Generation 3 actually took the time to improve on a lot of things that the originals didn't do. They fixed up towns, they fixed up cities, they fixed up designs, they fixed up characters, and even gave us new ones. They had absolutely no reason to do that when all they really needed to do was upscale the game to 3D with new models and things. But a game that not only gave us the full Pokédex, but also Mega Evolution on top of that? Come on now. What are we arguing about? Is what I would probably say if we were back in time a little bit, because before 4th gen, that was the most controversial release by far, because I couldn't see a lot of people agreeing that Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were good until we got 4th gen. How ironic is that? Weird times. Anyway, it's very easy for me to say something like that because when you compare that behemoth to what we got with the 4th gen remakes, it's kind of a cut and dry conversation. Just a moment ago, I mentioned how they could have easily just upscaled the game to 3D with some new models and stuff like that and called it a day. That's precisely what the 4th gen remakes pretty much did for the most part. They had 3 gimmicks they could have shoehorned in at least for the sake of giving us some new form of gameplay, but they didn't. We just had the bare bones gameplay that we've had from before gimmicks were a thing. They could have easily touched on some more story beats in regards to Team Galactic or maybe even the main characters, but they absolutely didn't. If they really wanted to, they could have added more costume options and more design options for characters, but they absolutely didn't. And they could have added the actual quality of life features that we had in Pokemon Platinum and even some of the additions that they had for post-game. But they didn't. And so, you look at what we're left with, a very hollow, one-to-one faithful remake that couldn't even give us permanent DLC access to Pokemon like Shaman, Darkrai, and Arceus because they wanted to stay so faithful that they had to recreate the events and make them limited time for some reason. I 100% understand pandering to nostalgia. I get it, from a business practice, it works sometimes, but this was taking it way too far. So, why were we so harsh with it? Well, to put it simply, because our favorite generation, the people that were looking forward to 4th gen remakes the most, got completely shafted for a quick buck. I still, to this day, fully believe that I and a lot of others were justifiably angry as to why our favorite generation got defiled so badly when previous generations got so much better. I mean, come on. It feels like we couldn't even get actual full-scale 3D models. We got these chibi recreations that didn't even look like they were finished. Even graphically, the game is not superior to the previous generation. That's ridiculous to me. So that brings us to the next question. Was the harshness justified? Well, why don't we go ahead and kind of put this into an analogy, right? Let's say in this scenario, you are younger and you have an older sibling. Your older sibling's pride and joy is this super high-tech, stupid powerful PC that your parents bought them ages ago. And then they promised you, don't worry, we'll get you one eventually too. And you're like, great, awesome, I'm gonna get a gift equivalent to that, maybe even better because it's gonna be down the line, it's gonna be more powerful, and it's gonna be really, really cool. A few years down the line, it's finally time for them to cash in on their promise, and they get you a laptop. The laptop is nice, it works, it's, you know, a little on the older side and doesn't really do all that much to improve from what its previous versions did, but, you know, it's an okay laptop, one that you could definitely use. And then you look at your sibling's super mega massive PC that still works all this time and you're like, how come I couldn't get that? And then your parents are just like, shut up, we made the promise and we cashed in on that promise. You got what you got, and that's all you're gonna get. And you just have to sit there and swallow that. You love your family, you love your parents, you love your older sibling, but it just feels like one didn't get quite the same love as the other. And that's all that's gonna happen with that, because the conversation is completely over in terms of your parents. And that's why, again, can't speak for everybody, but I do feel like the anger and the backlash from those games' releases were completely justified. Because we waited so long for these remakes, and the first set of remakes that we finally get on a Nintendo home console to finally play on the big screen, something that a lot of us were waiting to do since we were very little, did not come to the fruition that we thought it was going to come to. And that really blows, because we know that they were capable of doing it, but they simply didn't. And the most frustrating about the entire thing is that that is just completely it for 4th gen. We are probably never going to see official remakes for 4th gen ever again, because it's done. It's dead in the water and they're moving forward. They made their money from that and they can just go ahead and move on. And just thinking about that is very upsetting, because why? Why did it need to happen this way? We could have easily waited another year or two for more quality of life, more additions, more Pokemon, maybe a gimmick or two, and the upscaling of the graphics to make it so that these remakes were actually worth a damn. But they're not really. At least not to somebody that's played the originals over and over and over again. This was really not that much of a worthy purchase. This was not worth the $60, or if you bought both versions, the full $120. I'm just saying, in theory, one could possibly get an even better experience by just downloading an emulator of Pokemon Platinum and doing whatever they want with that. This is just in theory, by the way. This is not me, you know, telling you to do that, but you could, theoretically. Anyhow, I think you get the picture by now. And this may come from a standpoint of bias because, again, 4th gen has always been my favorite generation of Pokemon, but I can't imagine a reason as to why we wouldn't be justified in being upset about these games, because why is it that our favorites had to be cash grabs? Why this time? That really, really blows. However, it's been almost about 3 years now, so that brings me to my final question. How do we feel now? Again, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm speaking for everybody, because I don't know how you feel. I can't speak on your behalf. I can only speak on mine. And in my personal opinion, I'm definitely not as angry about it as I used to be, despite how it might have sounded a minute ago when I was talking about all of this. There was a time where even thinking about Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl would make me angry beyond belief, but I think at this point, it just makes me sad that it happened. It's unfortunate that my favorite generation for sure got shafted for a quick buck, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about that but just sit here and talk about it every now and again. That's definitely whatever. It's not an amazing feeling, but that's just how it is. However, I do think back a lot to a time where when the game came out, a friend of mine would always kind of tell me the same thing whenever the game would come up in conversation. He would keep telling me, well, the game is worth it to me, and it's very good to me because I've never experienced 4th gen before. This game was made for me, not necessarily for you. At the time, I thought, I don't think I agree with that sentiment, because why would they do that? They would want to pander to the most people possible with a good product, but okay, that's definitely one way to think about it. But then, the more that I thought about it, the less sense that it made, because why would they advertise it as re-experience the magic for new players? This game was not necessarily only meant for new players. They were fully expecting and wanting old players to come back and purchase this game to play it. They didn't need to do that. They could have easily just made an original, completely non-pandering trailer, but in the very first trailer that we ever saw, they literally said, re-experience. They wanted people to come back. So yeah, while I do agree that it's more beneficial for somebody who's never experienced 4th gen to play these games for the first time, I don't think that they designed these games with older players completely out of mind. That is simply not the case. They knew we would be coming back, because why wouldn't we? We love Pokemon, we want new Pokemon, and we want more improved Pokemon games. Why wouldn't we come back to a possibly better version of our favorite generation? That's never been the case for previous generations. Why would it have been the case then? And so here we are, almost 3 years later, and that game definitely exists. Now, again, I'm not gonna knock them completely, because at the very least, we got one thing that the other generations never got, and that's Pokemon Legends Arceus. Or Arceus, whatever. Y'all get mad at me a lot for how I pronounce that, but I don't think it matters all that much. That too was a rushed product. However, it was very, very fun. It was a much more unique experience than we had ever gotten in the entirety of the Pokemon franchise, and that's something I can at least kind of appreciate that we got. It also very clearly spawned a lot of new ideas for Game Freak, something that's going to come to fruition probably early to late next year. We're going to have to see what comes of that. But at the very least, we got something out of that. And hopefully, if Pokemon Legends ZA is something special, then you know what? I guess it was kind of all worth it in the end. Maybe. I don't know. If it weren't for the fact that I was a content creator, I probably would never touch Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl ever again. As a game, as a topic, anything. I would look past it and just do something else with my time. However though, I am a content creator, so unfortunately, there are times where this game is just gonna come back up, and every single time, it's just gonna make me sigh heavily at what could have been and what was. But I guess that's just how it goes sometimes. Big companies make the decisions and not us, and there's only so much we could do about it besides throwing our wallets at them hoping that they'll get it right. But Pokemon is definitely not the company we should be doing that with. And unfortunately, they very much are. But hey, who knows? Maybe there is a timeline out there somewhere, or maybe a very, very far future in which we do see remakes of the first 4 generations, and we do finally get that second chance for 4th gen to truly flourish and be what it was fully meant to be from concept. But I don't know. I don't think we live in that timeline. I don't know if I'm going to be around to see something like that, but I don't know. I'm not gonna hold my breath on it. I'm here for the here and now, and that's just how it is. But hey, you know what? Maybe that's just me. So that just about wraps it up for that one. This is definitely a topic that's been on the back of my mind for at least a solid year, and I just didn't know how to really go about it because, you know, we've already been through the entire trials and tribulations of everything that went down with Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl beforehand and afterwards. I was there for all of it. And, you know, again, I'm definitely going to look back at these games every now and again because, again, this is, unfortunately, for better or for worse, the game that kind of got me to kick it into high gear when it came to making content for YouTube. That's how this channel got to be anything, even the small little channel that it is with its, what, currently 8K plus subscribers. And I appreciate every single one of you guys that has stuck with me for these past couple of years, that has been through everything with Pokemon with me through thick and thin, better or worse, whatever. You know, I appreciate all of you guys. So thank you for sticking around. And I'm sorry that Gen 4 wasn't what it could have been for you and me when it comes to the remakes. So, you know, there's only so much we could have done about that. But hey, you know what? There's a good chance we may have a bright future ahead of us. Knock on wood. Knock on invisible wood, because I'm not going to knock on my desk because that's where you guys are right now. I'm not going to hit the mic, but we'll have to see what the future holds. But until then, obviously, I'm passing the mic over to you. Actually, before that, just know that I did talk about a lot of this beforehand in my actual review for Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl almost 3 years ago. So if you want to see that, I could link it, you know, just so you have a real clear idea of where my head was at the time and where it is now. You know, you have something to compare it to. But anyway, okay, that's enough advertising. I'm passing the mic over to you guys, and I want you guys to sit there and tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below. Do you think that I'm onto something? Do you think that 4th Gen could have been more, and that everybody was justified in being angry and upset and just hurt that Gen 4 remakes ended up the way that they did? Or am I completely out of my mind? Gen 4 remakes were perfect. They were everything that they needed to be, and it was a grandstand for the Pokemon franchise and something that we should continue to do with remakes going forward. I can't even say that with a straight face, but go ahead and tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, yeah, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and do just so. I would like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone. So thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!